having a rousted bouts of cutting up cinema like it's never been cut up before. There's going to be reviews. There's going to be interviews. There's going to be hijinks. And there's going to be a whole lot of cutting in this room. The Cutting Room Movie Podcast. Coming at you 128 kilobytes per second.
Season 6 of the Cutting Room Movie Podcast is underway. I am your host, Tom Detloff. Tonight I have Joe Christiana, Max Cook, and Adam Shoulder. All three are here. That's the Zillatones playing in the background. Check them out at www.thezillatones.com and like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter, Instagram, all that nonsense. You can follow me on Twitter, Thomas Detloff at TCRM Podcast. Joe Christiana is programming the next couple weeks, and boy, I couldn't be more excited about the three films that I have been able to watch over the past week. It has been nothing but pure excitement at Casa de Detloff. Joe, what's going on up there in Lake?
Are we starting season 6 with a full blast of sarcasm, Tom? Is that what I'm hearing?
No,
here?
man, I'm completely sincere on this one.
Wow, we're gonna have to change the mood music there in the opening. There was no volcanic screaming, cigarette voice screaming coming from
I just
your
can't do it anymore.
Cigarette voice.
Last season was it. I was just, every time I did the intro, I was just like, I cannot and will not do this anymore. So I'm gonna come at everybody a little bit more calmly.
Why, Tom? Why?
Are you getting nodes? Are you getting nodes on your vocal cords?
It's
voice
rash. List.
Right. Thanks, Max. You're awesome. I can't wait to talk to you.
You're still smoking.
Well, I once in a while, sure.
What is once in a while?
How
many cigarettes do you put in your yap a day?
I think I could smoke a half a pack of cigarettes a day, Max.
80 seconds and we're on Tom's spouting.
Welcome back to season 6, everybody.
Jesus, I was talking to Joe, Max. Can you give me a break?
Well, I was just going to say I'm sure there's going to be plenty of time, Max, to get on Tom's
on that one, please.
I was just going to say, what the hell are we going to do about that background music, Tom? I mean, it was used to be the big build-up, whatever.
It's on, it's staying. You can hear it right now. No, nothing has changed in that department.
It sounds like the new Tom is like the Hepcat of the 60s.
Do any members of the Zillatones ever listen to this show? Do you know this?
Let me tell you, man, they have been really cool on Twitter. They've been doing a lot of retweeting for us, and just trying to help build the brand. Man, they've been very cool. So
for themselves or for the show, like they believe in the show. Do they listen? How many members are there in the Zillatones?
Joe, that's your department, I think.
Yeah, I don't know. I found them on. What is it? What's the plug, Tom? We always Reverb Nation. I found them on Reverb Nation. I reached out to them. I really dug their music. It sounded like they would fit in with what we're doing, and they were excited. They let us use their stuff, so we didn't have to rip off anybody's copyrighted stuff. They gave us.
How long have we been using their music?
Since we abandoned the horror show.
So they're like a royalty-free band, but you pay them. Like
Evan Mac. We have we have an agreement that we exchange. We give them plugs every show, and they let us use their music for the theme. So they were really into it. I really dig their stuff, but I wonder if they have some lounge music now with Tom's new.
We'll have to dig through their catalog. Listen,
lounge music for the subdued, soft opening.
Adam, didn't you guys have a house band on Mimosa? Who was that?
Well,
the Four Postmen.
The Four Postmen, all good friends of ours. We used to use their music a lot, and we would feature them on the show a lot. And then they eventually wrote both an opening and closing song for us.
You had them on the show, right?
many times.
And they all listened to every episode.
Right.
Yeah,
Well, Joe promised, like, the Zillitones, you know, he was like, yeah, you guys can come on and plug your music and we'll talk to you. Joe never had them.
I did ask him, but they're very non-responsive. I think that they're in Japan or something like that. So, well, Max, here we go. They're not Japanese. They're not Japanese. I think they might be Serbian. I don't know what the hell their story.
They might be
the guys
Serbian.
Wow, they're American, but they're in Japan.
We have to get these guys on
as much as I can gather. But here's the litmus test, Max. Zillitones, if you guys hear this, reach out to us and we'll have you on for it.
Yeah, we'll know, Max. We'll know if they are listening to the show because we're talking to them right now and we're asking them to contact us immediately.
I am calling you out.
Yes.
I want to know each and every member's preference cinematically. I want to know if you use booty butt wipes. I want to know if you're a panty sniffer. Are there any girls in the band? I want information. I'm gathering information on you, Zillitones.
Max needs the 411.
So there it is, Zillitones, the gauntlet's down. Now, Tom, I don't know what your new format is here or where this is going, but I did have a question because when I was down there over the summer, you were saying you were going to change the opening and the format, and you said you were going to do like a little sort of monologue.
Yeah.
Piece.
I think we're going to move in that direction ultimately, Joe. This would have been the time to start. Tom, you should have wrote a little thing.
Where's your monologue, Tom?
Joe, it's
Tom,
I thought. Here's what I thought.
I get on. Hold on. Be quiet. I mean, excuse me.
Very rude to tell the counselor to be quiet, Tom.
No, oh my God. Listen, you guys are coming at me too much here. I'm telling you right now. You guys got to calm down.
Oh, wow.
We're excited. It's the start.
I know you're excited, but Joe, I'm talking to Joe beforehand. I just told him that I had, a very horrible experience medically recently, and I'm just trying to get things together. And he's coming at me on air here with this monologue thing.
As far as I know, this is a free-form discussion until you move it to something else. So I'm
Tom,
speaking
while you're
my
sitting
mind.
there with the gout, you could be writing your opening monologue.
That's what I thought. Here's what I thought, Max. Here's what I thought was going to happen. When he said that to me over the summer, I was like, oh, all right. We got the Detlef Diaries section on the website. What Tom is probably going to do is do like a little meditation, write a little essay, like a thematic sort of rant or something.
Something personal.
A minute long, 90-second long about photography or whatever. Open up the show.
Detlef Diaries, I remember those.
Right. And then he would plug that. That would be a perfect sort of.
Here's the thing too with that. I was thinking about this when I was writing my intro for the Salt of the Earth, which we're going to be talking about in a few minutes. I was like, is it too much? Because I feel like that in itself was a monologue. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Fucking host.
You get two if you want, man.
I can, right?
Do whatever the fuck you want.
If I was the host, I would definitely do it. But like I was saying, I would do it like make the opening like a 60-second thing, and then the review's the review or the intro's the intro.
Gotcha. All right, I'm on it.
Like the Tonight Show. Like, how about this Donald Trump? Can you believe this guy? Is it that kind of monologue?
No, I just a little personal bit about what we're probably going to be getting into for the evening. Just a few thoughts about the theme or.
I did it with the alien thing because we were doing summer block.
So you did it. You're the best. You're the greatest, Joe. Oh, by the way, Joe, congratulations on your book deal.
Yeah, let's talk about that at some point.
Awesome.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, really excited, man. Just friggin' incredible. It was just amazing, man. I found a publisher who's going to put out the book, and it'll be out in August 2016. I got to go through the editing process right now, but I couldn't be happier with, my first novel that I've wrote.
So
I got it out.
This is not self-publishing. This is a legitimate.
No, that was one of the conditions that look, it's not Penguin or Harper or anything like that. It's a small, basically the contemporary version of pulp. But the two conditions I set for myself were, one, I would not self-publish because I could, with all due respect, I could, write something on toilet paper and self-publish it. You know what I mean? Like, I know that there's probably a lot of good things come out of it, but I just didn't want to do it. and I would not under any circumstances pay anybody any money whatsoever, because there's a lot of quote unquote vanity presses out there.
Yes.
And again, with all due respect,
where you pay them.
Yes, they're making money off of authors,
Right.
and I've been in the indie film guerrilla thing for way too long to know that like you'll go down a road with these people and then they'll ask you for money. And I had that experience through the film stuff.
Right.
And I never paid anybody in the film stuff, except for there's film festivals, which are basically, there's all kinds of seedy shit and people exploiting and capitalizing all. So the answer is no. It's not self-published and it's not a vanity press. So I'm really excited, man.
Congratulations, Joe.
Nice.
Did they give you a financial reward or anything, or is it just an agreement that they're going to get it out there?
So yeah, it's like I said, it's a small press, so there's no advance, but they offered to free editing, obviously free cover, and free publicity, whatever they do, promotion, they get it out there. They do a lot of the legwork that I would have had to do if I self-published. So
Right.
as soon as it's released, it's in all of the major ebook sellers everywhere online, and then they also have a print-on-demand section, so you can actually order a book.
Nice.
So
That's cool.
yeah,
You got to get on the Goodreads, Joe. Goodreads.
it goes automatically onto Goodreads, so I don't even have to do that. I don't even have to.
You don't even have to think about it because that's not your job.
I do kind of do. A lot of the promotion on this level is going to be on me. So I am going to be contacting all our old friends from the Horror Palace and making the rounds on the podcast and trying to figure out a million other
We'll
places.
totally do everything we can to help you, man.
So, everybody out there, it's going to be called Atavist Falls, August 2016. And by the time August 2016 comes around, you are going to be so fucking sick of hearing about Atavist Falls.
What's the tagline, Joe?
I'm not quite sure yet, but I think it's going to be something like Languages of Virus or something like that. So it's a really cool little monster story about a kid and a monster lurking in the woods. So
Okay, there you go.
As things unfold, I'll definitely be getting into it more. And thank you for bringing it up, Tom. Appreciate it.
No problem. Joe, tell us about the theme the next 2 weeks here. What are we doing?
What did I call it? The photographic image.
The photographic image. So we're doing Salt of the Earth tonight. Now this is a film, a Wim Wenders production, which is cool. I'm going to introduce it in a couple minutes. And next week we're doing a couple classics. We're doing Peeping Tom and Blow Up. So what's going on here with this, Joe? What inspired you?
So I saw the Salt of the Earth movie, and I always tried. I think we all actually tried to get a new release to sort of sync up thematically with classics, right? Sometimes we can't quite do it, but this one just blew me away. It just moved me profoundly. Like these images of this guy, I was unfamiliar with his work, or at least I was unfamiliar with him, that he had taken some of the images that I was familiar with. But it just really moved the hell out of me just seeing this documentary. So just plugged in a couple of classics.
All right, cool. Well, let's get things started. I'm going to do Salt of the Earth. It's a Wim Wenders production. So let's just get to it. Here I go.
He might not be a king, but he's got the gout like King Henry VIII. Please welcome the tobacco industry's leading advocate and our fearless leader, Mr. Tom. Knock your socks off, Detloff.
If anything, I felt like taking multiple selfies after screening Wim Wenders' 2014 documentary, The Salt of the Earth, based on the photographic career of Sebastião Salgado's brave, lifelong journey of capturing the dark and bright moments of humanity. I think there's nothing more captivating than shoving a camera inches from my ugly mug and making a silly face and letting the entire planet know just how insincere I am. Really, this is what we do. This is how we capture our hearts, our souls. Post it, baby. Post it and forget about it. Millions of meaningless photos. Billions. Trillions. Sadly, we just can't get enough, and it's just getting started, as men like Salgado will become dinosaurs while Madison from Texas uploads her latest lollipop-sucking, pigtail, backward hat, excessive makeup selfie that she only hopes gets double-digit likes on Instagram. And it probably will. It'll mean more to most people than any Salgado photo, and that's what I thought while I screened The Salt of the Earth. What does any of this mean to anyone except a few? There's no doubt The Salt of the Earth is a triumph into the heart of darkness. Wenders and Salgado's son co-direct an anthology of photos taken by Sebastião Salgado over decades that run from multiple continents, that stills many walks of life, from Africa to Mexico to Brazil to Kuwait. Salgado is at first a student while slowly learning his surroundings before becoming a master by photographing the spirit and sometimes lack of the human race. Studying a Salgado photo is as captivating as a Vermeer painting or a Rimbaud poem. It has beauty. It has rage. The best things he captures is the tirelessness in ourselves, the willingness to survive. And I think that's what interests Salgado the most, survival. There's a segment in this film that concentrates on the displacement of an Ethiopian community, and this will move you to no end. These photographs play over and over in your head for hours afterward. It's almost like witnessing life on another planet. I still can't believe tribal communities exist, as if Madison's cell phone does not exist. And this brings me back to my question. What does any of this mean? Even though I was affected by Wenders' film and Salgado's images, a day or two later I just move on and forget it as if it never happened. I can't help but feel this is what we're all doing. Witnessing things that might have a profound effect on us, but then just moving on and not acting on our deepest, sincerest feelings. Are we afraid? Are we just naturally insincere? Are we all just Madison from Texas? Maybe this is why Salgado moved to capturing nature and wildlife, because humans just suck. And he spent his entire life photographing them, and all he gets is war, displacement, and death. Sure, the spirit triumphs during these events he witnesses, but in reality, nothing changes, and the same thing continues on without progress. In the end, Salgado is hopeful. That's amazing that he's hopeful. He's hoping he can understand our complete existence. From humans to animals to sea life and plant life, Salgado will continue leaving his mind's eye for whoever is interested. And not to be a Debbie Downer here, but I think that audience is dwindling as we are now programmed to witness hundreds and even thousands of still images on a daily basis, making it difficult and tiring to determine what is beautiful or meaningful. We're living in the de-evolution of the photographic image, and for Salgado, that might be a sad thing to realize. Okay, Salt of the Earth, 2014. Joe, we're back to Wim Wenders.
Yeah, Wim Wenders. Really beautiful intro there, Tom. Probably one of your best, man. Nicely done, dude. Well written, man.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
This is why you're infuriating. Because you have all the fucking potential in the world, and you don't do shit with it. And you just did something great with it. It was you had me in tears, Tom.
Oh, wow.
But instead, you wind up being an asshole.
Well,
So-
how?
Jesus Christ, Max.
Jesus.
Wow, Max. Come on, dude.
I mean, that was so gorgeous, Tom. I mean, you nailed this film. I thought about that as I was watching the film, the selfie thing.
Not only did you nail it, though, I mean, you with that intro, what you also did was put your own take on it, and you added to it, and you gave us your own unique perspective on it, what mattered to you about the film. So kudos.
Yeah, well done. Very well done.
Thank you, Adam. Thank you. I love you, Adam.
I love you too, Tom. That was good shit, man.
But yeah, to your point, man, to your thesis in that, it's true, man. You see the beauty of these photographs, even no matter how ugly the subject matter is. You see that this guy has just a natural inclination, and he worked that into a mastery of his art form, and you realize that it is something to be mastered. It is a poem. It is a Vermeer or a Rimbaud, you know, like you had said. And to see the devaluation of that because of us being just desensitized and nerd by just the sheer amount of photography, you're absolutely right, man. I mean, it's changing the art form itself, you know.
What really captivated me with this Salgado guy is when I learned when I was watching the film that he puts himself in these surroundings and he studies them for a while, Joe. You know?
Well, that's one of the things that I wrote down, actually, was one of the key things is that, you know, like any great artist, he became obsessed with it, which we'll actually see in the next two films that we talk about as well. And he followed his obsession to the point where he left his family, and he basically got lost, especially early in his career, for 7 or 8 or 10 years in South America. So, I mean, he followed his obsession, and that's something to admire and to awe at, that, you know, a guy who is pursuing an art form and just is willing to abandon absolutely everything and sacrifice everything for that art
form.
Joe,
you know, this is probably a difficult question to answer, but I mean, is a man like Salgado, I mean, is this the last? Is he the last of a dying breed?
You know, man, look, art forms never quite all the way go away, but when photography, you know, came on the scene in the late 19th century, people were saying the same thing about painting. You know, they were saying that, is this it for painting? Painting's dead. You know, why do we need to paint now?
Right,
you know, so
and it continued on. I mean, obviously,
sure. I mean, the greatest.
Yeah, I mean, sure.
Well, the greatest paint. You know, it forced them to find a way to do something even better than what they were doing, in my opinion. Anyway, you know, the Impressionists and the abstract expressionists, and you know, what Picasso, Cuba, all that shit that followed in the 20th century. It's just gorgeous, man. I mean, you can't do what they did with paint, with a photograph. You know, and just because, you know, you have every you know, housewife who's driving an SUV in like the local paint party shop that's really popular right now, or they'll get have 2 glasses of wine and they'll all make a painting that looks the same, like a fucking, you know what I mean? You know what I mean by that? Sure. So just because those people doesn't mean that it doesn't really take away. It doesn't destroy utterly the act of painting or the art of painting itself, just the same way that these friggin' morons who are obsessed with shoving their phones in their faces 24 hours a day isn't going to really destroy what people like Salgado do, because those people who are taking the selfies don't have the balls or the courage to chase their image and their obsession around to better the planet, to offer in a creative way.
Yeah, they're not moving at all. Sure.
Well, yeah. And my question is that are they going to be so distracted by all that shit that they don't notice when the next great one, you know, comes along?
And that's what I'm getting at, I think, Adam. And this is what I'm trying to get out of Joe. And he, you know, that the world is changing so much that it is that possible. You know, is it possible that we just, you know, we could move into a culture where we don't see great art anymore?
Well, there's always a mass good probably half of the population who are just basically aren't going to get it anyway. You know what I mean? Sure. They're gonna enjoy their low art, and low art has a place in just like high art does. You know what I mean?
Agree. Yeah.
If their idea of a great picture is a sitcom or a reality show, or photoshopping, your face onto your dog or whatever the fuck that people are doing out there now. I mean, then that's all more power for them. They get enjoyment for that. That's fine. What these people, photojournalists, are doing is something completely different. So, I don't think. Yes, I mean it takes away the power of it to an extent, but I don't think it will ever completely devalue it.
Because I was thinking, I mean, listen, I was moved by his images, and they were very powerful, and but still, I'm like looking, I'm on the computer, and you're looking at pictures all day, I mean, it's insane how many photos you're looking at, and it just worries me that something like that, like what he does. Okay,
so let me tell you. Let me ask you this. The reaction that I had, I saw this twice. I saw it the first time I programmed, and then I watched it again with my wife. Both times, I really had to hold tears back from my face when I was watching these. I am not moved by that. I haven't been moved by that ever on Facebook.
Right.
Looking at
of course.
Facebook,
right.
You know what I mean?
Totally.
So, it's just the difference between an artist and it's the difference between a Picasso and a housewife who has a glass of wine in her hand down at the strip mall. You know what I mean?
Joe, I don't understand. Why did you hold tears back?
I knew you were going to ask that, Cook.
That's a good question.
Well, I mean, I don't mind crying.
Do you feel like less of a man if you cry in front of your wife looking at devastating art?
Cry before. I try not. I don't. Yeah. I guess I do.
What are
have
you,
a
Jeff
little bit
Shrek now?
No, well, Jeff,
poor boy alone.
Jeff wouldn't be able to get himself to get to that point. Like, my tears welled up in my eyes.
But you said you fought crying, so you can't just. So, in other words, if you watched the film without your wife, you would have bawled.
I think it's just an instinct. I think it's just my natural instinct, and it's probably what you're driving at is probably fairly accurate. That there is some sort of masculine idea culture ingrained into me at some point, but I don't have an issue.
Is your wife
crying.
not? I mean, she fucking lives with you. She's had 2 kids with you. She knows you're a sensitive dude.
Yes, of course.
So what? She's going to have a problem if you suddenly cry at Salgado's?
Well, she knew that. Well, look, my wife and I have a very here we go. My wife and I have a very close relationship. So she knew very well where I was at. She knew that I was on the verge of tears.
So why didn't she say, "Honey, let it out, let it go"? That's what my wife says when I cry at dog food commercials.
Because she's seen me cry before, and when I need to cry, it should
turn her on.
Maybe it does. I don't know.
Joe, do you think you're
very weird?
Do you think you're overly sensitive for an Italian?
I probably am more emotional than most.
Right, because your dad was pretty stoic, right?
No. Yes, he was very stoic. Yes.
Yeah, because I remember your father.
I saw him cry once.
You don't have to be like your dad, Joe.
I know,
and
I'm
yourself, and you can cry in front of your wife,
Joe.
And you can, you know what, Joe? You can cry in front of your son.
And I have. I don't blubber though,
I blubber.
So I'm caught somewhere. I'm not like a leaky mess all over the place. I try to contain my emotion to some extent.
Why? If you contain your emotion, you know what's going to happen, Joe? You're going to get hemorrhoids.
Yeah, or turn into Billy.
Or Jeff. Adam, can you offer a leavening viewpoint here?
Yeah,
as far as
absolutely. Yeah, tears are a sign of weakness.
There you see?
Adam,
see me cry at Jackass.
That's ridiculous.
I've cried at the Eric operation.
It's true. Right. It's all true.
So there's got to be some kind of line, I mean, do you cry if you get stuck in the elevator, Max?
If I got stuck in an elevator, Joe,
I know. I mean, it's very sad, and you're upset, and you're angry. Why don't you just start crying? Why don't you just let it out and start crying?
I cry all the time.
He does. He cried after
my fucking Rod Steiger and Dustin Hoffman.
He cried after my Jackass review.
I don't know a single human that cries more than Max.
I cry all the time.
And does your wife get turned on by your crying?
No, she usually smiles like a little sweet smile, and she always goes whip for the Kleenex and just hands it over. She can anticipate like a machine. She can anticipate when I'm about to fall apart. Whip. It's always 2 sheets, and she just hands it over.
Does she do any crying?
Well, she did cry recently.
Really?
What was it? Yeah. She's like the ice queen. Oh, it was just we're reading through plays together now, like we're practicing cold reading, and we read A.R. Gurney's Love Letters. It's a play between a man and a woman through time, and they're sending letters to each other, and they never wind up together. Well, by the end of that, like, she starts reading the last letter from the female character, and she fucking fell apart. And my wife does not, she bottles everything in and then explodes. So for her to like have that kind of experience with a piece of art, it's really great to see, You
love it.
She had me going. Oh yeah, then she had me going. I wasn't crying because of the play. I was crying because she was crying. It's like, honey, you're crying. And then we sat there and we cried together.
Hey, Joe.
There was a running thing. There must have been at least, I don't know, how many, probably 50% of our mimosas were Max would cry.
Oh, so embarrassing.
I was so sad that when I was on that mimosa that time, there was no crying.
No tears on that one. No tears.
Why? Oh my God. When we interviewed my high school drama teacher, I completely fell the fuck apart. And I said, Adam, we cannot put this out there. And he cut the chunk where I
under protest, by the way. I cut it under protest.
I couldn't talk.
Oh my God. Hey, Joe, do you think Max has ever cried during sex?
Oh, that's a good question. Have you ever cried during sex?
Don't ask him. I want to know what you think, and then he can answer the.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. I think so. Here's what I picture. Like, Max and his high school girlfriend, they both have to go to different colleges, and they're gonna sleep together one last time. And Max is so sensitive, he starts bawling because the last time that they sleep together.
I think he could just naturally just find, like, I could see him like just crying because it's just such a beautifully passionate.
Listen to Tom.
I'm an actor, for God's sake. I gotta be in touch with my emotion.
Romantic, like, setting. Like, I could just see him just, really just the tear shedding and the caressing. And, he just finds the situation so beautiful. And life is just so good in that situation. Yes.
Oh, I'm looking right into your soul, baby, as I'm inside you. You're so beautiful. Oh, excuse me.
Jesus Christ.
It all just comes out.
Adam, what's your cry factor?
Oh, that was funny. I'm not. I'm not a Max. That's for sure. No, I'm not. I'm not a sobber. But I'll tell you what, though. Like I'm more of a sentimental in terms of, like, there's this great freaking dog Subaru commercial with a dog, which gets to me. I don't get through a Sunday morning CBS Sunday morning show without some high school basketball girl dying of cancer out on the floor for her first and only college game to make a basket. That stuff always gets to me. But I'm not a sobber. It'll be the getting misty tears rolling down the cheeks kind of thing.
Max, life is too good for Adam, right?
Oh, yeah.
I got nothing to be sad about. Boom.
You guys, Miley Cyrus performed a song on SNL the other night, sitting down at the piano, and I was a blithering wreck.
Oh my God.
That's pathetic. I'm so unimpressed.
Did you cry during this movie, Max?
Yes.
You did.
This film, first of all, this Wim Wenders, thank God he came out of the fucking woodwork again, because where's he been? But this documentary has a 3-act structure. The first act is us getting to know this fucking guy, because I had no idea who the hell he was.
Right.
So we had his life. It's like, wow, this guy's been through some shit already. Second act is his embeddedness in the worst of humanity. All of the death, all of the destruction, all of the destroying, all of the horrible things he saw till he got to the point where I had to put my camera down and cry. He said it. And then it was too much. Third act is nature and his ascension and the fact that he got to that level, but he had to go through the worst of us and the worst of the planet. And listen, when I'm looking at that middle act, that's where I usually stay. This is what we are. This is all we are. We are shit. We've destroyed this fucking planet. We are doomed. This is it. By the time the third act rolled around and he's taking pictures of nature and the gorillas and the tribes and the indigenous people, and I suddenly felt hope inside me. That's what made me emotional. Not the death.
Oh,
it was the actual hope. It was like
that's funny, man. I had almost the exact opposite reaction. So I don't mean to interrupt you there. But I understand what you said, but one of the things that I wrote down was that our like desire and our sort of pleasure, a masochistic pleasure at looking at terrible things and awful things, overshadowed the hope for me in this film. That was the only problem I actually had with it, is that I couldn't get past that.
Really? Because Max is right. I mean, by the time the third act starts to reveal itself, and I mentioned it too in my intro, is that, like, you know, there's this Salgado just clings to this hopefulness, and like it's so obvious that Wenders captures Salgado. They were very wise to get Wenders to take this on, but yeah, I just could not get past that. The Ethiopia and the Conga, I just couldn't, man. I couldn't even see what he was doing. You know, like in my life, I practice that in my life. Like I try not to like harp and like obsess on the horror and the misery, and look for hope. You know what I mean? Like every day.
Animals.
Oh, I'm certainly into nature.
Yeah, but you're not into animals, Joe.
I am into. I
saw you push Malcolm away.
Oh my gosh! Did you push Malcolm, Joe?
I didn't push him. A little bit.
We were watching Jackass. Adam, you were there.
Yeah.
And Joe pushes my dog, who's just trying to bond with Joe.
Well, where I'm from, the dog does not get on the couch, and I didn't even think about it, Max, and I apologize to you and Malcolm for that, to be honest with you. But I don't give all I have to do, if my dog is in my way, I snap and he moves away.
Sure, Christiana's apologizing to a dog.
And then he puts fucking beer cans in my dog's food.
Because he doesn't like your dog, Max.
Fuck you, Joe.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, also. When at the very...
Please tell Malcolm I said I'm sorry.
Well, Malcolm,
yeah, I'm sure he'll understand.
Uncle Joe is sorry. So at the end, they talk about how there's a rebirth of nature in a lot of the places that Salgado went, and how the forest is back, and how the earth replenishes itself, and how the jaguars are back. That fucking destroyed me, because I wouldn't have imagined that in a million years that it would be, because all I see is the horror.
Yeah, that's funny.
Oh, let me say one more thing about Salgado, and I mean this with all respect. The dude needs a fucking eyebrow trimmer.
That's all the hair this guy's got.
He's living in the jungles, Max. So
those things are battery powered and small. He could have.
Yeah, there's no excuse.
He was going to be on the TV.
You know what Wenders could have done? He could have said, "Excuse me, hold on, Salgado," boink, and plucked some of those giant, gnarly, fucking white eyebrow hairs that were sticking out. They drove me crazy, because I'm really weird about grooming, and I know he's a down and dirty embedded photographer legend, but it's like, come on, man.
Yeah. Hey, Wenders does a really great job with this documentary. It kind of reminded me of something Herzog would do, Joe.
Yeah, me too. I want to say the one thing that he did was friggin' brilliant, with the way that he projected the guy's Salgado's photographs in front of him on a clear glass or whatever, and then he would adjust the light on Salgado behind it, so you could see him kind of coming through as he's looking at the photograph. It was friggin' amazing. That it's just a simple cinematography, little bit of cinematography.
Easy for you to say.
Trickery, and it was just friggin' just so powerful, so simple, and so brilliant.
Adam, had you heard of Salgado?
I had not. And it was everything that we're talking about. I think I was more on the idea of what Max's experience, in that I usually get stuck in the act two, in the contempt and disgust for humankind, and it was nice to see some gorillas out there, and that he spent 8 years in the Galapagos away from humans and with nature and with animals because that dude. That's some heavy shit that dude has been through and has seen. He has seen the very worst of it all, and that's a broken man. So hopefully nature can save him. Yeah, exactly.
He has PTSD.
Yeah,
you could see it in his eyes.
Oh yeah, that dude is broken for his art. I mean, he broke his mind for his art and made quite a statement. And I'm rooting for the dude. Actually, I'm hoping that nature will save this dude's soul in the twilight of his life. And it was great. And Wenders is a brilliant filmmaker across the board, and it was really, really a story well told.
Yeah, it was an excellent documentary. I mean, there's no doubt about it. I'm glad I had an opportunity to watch it, and I'm glad I had an opportunity to be introduced to Salgado, Joe. I had never heard of the man before, and to be able to spend a couple hours in the in the life of Sebastião Salgado, it was a film worth watching.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad.
Can we get back to social media for a second? Because it's so funny. I fucking hate Twitter. I suck at it. Facebook, it's always just whatever I feel like talking about. I have an audience there. But I got to tell you, if I had to choose a favorite social media means, it's Instagram. And
Why
Instagram is photos. And I really take Instagram more seriously than anything. It's like my first instinct to post is always on Instagram. And Instagram is based around, not so much, I mean, yeah, it's imagery, but I really get into it. Like, I don't think I've taken a lot of great pictures in my life, but I think I've taken a few pictures that I think this is good enough to hang on a wall. Not so much my wall, but like I took a picture recently on my trip to wine country of Aram, the winemaker of Kirami Wines, and he's standing in the doorway, and the sun is coming through, and it's shining on his wine glass, and he's smiling, and he's happy, and he's relaxed, and he's looking at my wife, and my wife is kind of beaming and kind of looking at something that's going on, and it was just one of those moments that it's not a selfie, it's not a this, it's not a that, but I really, really get into it.
So you're taking the pictures on your phone?
I'm taking them on my phone, and it's obviously I'm saying on the level of people who take selfies. If I'm going to take photos, I do take them very seriously, and especially like after seeing a documentary like this, it's like, no, if you're going to put an image out there that represents whatever's going on in your life or whatever, you're not going to be a Salgado, but at the same time, you could really invest in making a very good picture, a good image, a good memory. And as a result, I'm like, I really love Instagram. I think it's a really great way to communicate. Like my friend Peter Hastings, who directed Kung Fu Panda, he's a legitimate photographer. Like, he is a legitimate dude, and he takes these pictures with his phone that you don't understand. They're so beautiful. And they're different subjects.
Max, I'm looking at one of these pictures in the bowling alley that you took, and it's there's a bowling alley and two women in red shirts. One of them is too large she needs to be wheeled around, and they're eating at the counter at the bowling alley.
Are you looking at Facebook?
Well, you're talking about your photography.
That's a picture he took?
Yes.
Yeah, a fat lady in a wheelchair eating.
That's my other round of.
Okay, now here's one of a.
What?
Here's a picture that you took called Black Mamba about maximum power. It's a package of I don't even know what.
Oh, you're talking about my Porn Alley series.
Your Porn Alley series.
Oh yeah, well that's a whole other series. See, I'm gonna have.
It's kind of like Salgado's Workers collection.
Hey, listen.
Absolutely, it's a social commentary. Nice.
Listen, I actually really love photography, and I have a Deanne Arbus book that I look at all the time. Like, I have my art books that I pull out, and I'm much more moved by, I don't know, like Robert Mapplethorpe. You guys ever seen his shit before?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just amazing stuff. And Deanne Arbus, man, she used to photograph sideshow freaks.
And mental patients in mental hospitals.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm sorry. I just got that.
Shit.
That's the stuff I want to look at.
I just sent Tom one of Max's masterpieces.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I'm a masterpiece photographer.
Max, you're really good at this. Maybe we should make a documentary about you.
Fuck you.
I gotta post this one on. I'll post this one on the show.
Holy shit! It's exactly what I was describing in my intro.
If that's what you walked away with.
Horrible.
It's a picture of Max taking a selfie from below the spread crotch of, I guess,
Oh, yeah! The world's tallest whore. No, that doesn't count.
Oh my God.
That won't make the retrospective, you don't think?
The Porn Alley series.
It actually is a nice picture for what it is. I mean, it really is, actually.
No, Adam, I agree with you, though, with Max's Porn Alley series. I think it is good social commentary.
That I'm telling
Yeah,
you, seriously, put that in a coffee table book, and that thing.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, I always, whenever I just see like the pavement and a box of something, I get, and it's on Max's feed, I get really excited.
I get tears well up in my eyes, and I have to hold them back.
You fight them off.
I fight them back.
Like the gold mine at Cerro Pelado, right, Joe?
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot for doing Salt of the Earth. We're going to be back next week.
Listen, on the next show, we're going to talk about when Joe went down to see Tom and they hung out for a weekend.
Oh,
Yeah, it's the first show of the season here. We haven't even caught up on how summers were for everyone. We didn't have our summer report, what I did over our summer break. For crying out.
We'll definitely, Joe, we'll do it next week. We'll touch on that.
Okay.
All right, yeah, sure. We'll tell you what we did over the summer, who hung out with who slept with who cried. Well, we talked about that, but we'll definitely catch up on some personal business. We're still doing photography next week. Joe, what are we doing?
Blow Up, the 1960 classic, influential classic film Blow Up.
1966, Blow Up.
66, and the other one's from 1960.
Joe doesn't even know.
Peeping
He forgot
Tom.
already.
Peeping Tom is 1960.
Yeah. Mr. Quick over here. All right. Joe Christiana and Joe Schreck do the editing for the Cutting Room Movie Podcast. It's brought to you by Christiana Productions and New Media Limited. I'd also like to thank our social networker, Jeremy Garcia. Check his podcast out, Dartboard Cinema. He does a lot of great work for us, and he keeps us active and alive over on Facebook and Twitter, where you could follow and like us and all that craziness. You know, the music.
Has Jeremy gotten a job yet?
I don't know, but we'll have Jeremy on at some point this season. We'll catch up with Jeremy, and we'll see what's up with that kid. Where does he live, Ohio, Joe?
Did he just move? Did he say he just moved?
Oh, what?
I don't know. Yeah, it was Ohio. I thought he moved somewhere, but I don't know where.
He'll post the weirdest, like, well, there it is. Like, that's his update. It's like, huh?
Yeah,
I guess not. I guess not. Like, those are his updates. And then he'll post something interesting. I'm like, what are you doing?
Right. He needs to be more selective. He needs to be more selective.
He needs to think about. He needs to treat Facebook as like an artistic expression. But maybe that is his artistic expression.
I think he doesn't sleep.
Yeah, he needs to get some sleep.
He needs to get some sleep, man. That is
and he
true.
needs to do his laundry. And stop wearing shirts with wolves on them, Jeremy.
The Zillatones do the music. www.thezillatones.com or search for them on Reverb Nation. Next week, Blow Up, Peeping Tom. Max is doing Peeping Tom. Adam has Blow Up. We'll be back then. We're over and we're out. Ciao.
to satisfy more of your strange desires. The Cutting Room Movie Podcast. We do chicken right. Roustabouts are cutting up cinema like it's never been cut up before. There's going to be reviews. There's going to be interviews. There's going to be hijinks. And there's going to be a whole lot of cutting in this room. The Cutting Room Movie Podcast. Coming at you 128 kilobytes per second.
Season 6 of the Cutting Room Movie Podcast is underway. I am your host, Tom Detloff. Tonight, I have Joe Christiana, Max Cook, and Adam Shoulder. All three are here. That's the Zillatones playing in the background. Check them out at www.thezillatones.com and like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter, Instagram, all that nonsense. You can follow me on Twitter, Thomas Detloff at TCRM Podcast. Joe Christiana is programming the next couple weeks, and boy, I couldn't be more excited about the three films that I have been able to watch over the past week. It has been nothing but pure excitement at Casa de Detloff. Joe, what's going on up there in Lake?
Are we starting season 6 with a full blast of sarcasm, Tom? Is that what I'm hearing?
No,
here?
man, I'm completely sincere on this one.
Wow, we're gonna have to change the mood music there in the opening. There was no volcanic screaming, cigarette voice screaming coming from
I just
your
can't do it anymore.
Cigarette voice.
Last season was it. I was just, every time I did the intro, I was just like, I cannot and will not do this anymore. So I'm gonna come at everybody a little bit more calmly.
Why, Tom? Why?
Are you getting nodes? Are you getting nodes on your vocal cords?
It's
voice rash.
Right. Thanks, Max. You're awesome. I can't wait to talk to you.
You're still smoking.
Well, I once in a while, sure.
What is once in a while?
How
many cigarettes do you put in your yap a day?
I think I could smoke a half a pack of cigarettes a day, Max.
80 seconds and we're on Tom's spouting.
Welcome back to season 6, everybody.
Jesus, I was talking to Joe, Max. Can you give me a break?
Well, I was just going to say I'm sure there's going to be plenty of time, Max, to get on Tom's
on that one, please.
I was just going to say, what the hell are we going to do about that background music, Tom? I mean, it was used to be the big build-up, whatever.
It's on, it's staying. You can hear it right now. No, nothing has changed in that department.
It sounds like the new Tom is like the Hepcat of the 60s.
Do any members of the Zillatones ever listen to this show? Do you know this?
Let me tell you, man, they have been really cool on Twitter. They've been doing a lot of retweeting for us, and just trying to help build the brand, man. They've been very cool. So
for themselves or for the show, like they believe in the show. Do they listen? How many members are there in the Zillatones?
Joe, that's and we're asking them to contact us immediately.
Zillatones, I am calling you out.
Yes,
I want to know each and every member's preference cinematically. I want to know if you use booty butt wipes. I want to know if you're a panty sniffer. Are there any girls in the band? I want information. I'm gathering information on you, Zillatones.
Max needs the 411.
So there it is, Zillatones, the gauntlet's down. Now, Tom, I don't know what your new format is here or where this is going, but I did have a question because when I was down there over the summer, you were saying you were going to change the opening and the format, and you said you were going to do like a little sort of monologue.
Yeah.
piece.
I think
Like
we're going to move in that direction ultimately, Joe.
But this would have been the time to start. You should have wrote a little thing.
Where's your monologue, Tom?
Joe, it's
Tom,
I love diaries. I thought. Here's what I thought.
I get on. Hold on. Be quiet. I mean, excuse me.
Very rude to tell the counselor to be quiet, Tom.
No, oh my God. Listen, you guys are coming at me too much here. I'm telling you right now. You guys got to calm down.
Oh, wow.
We're excited. It's the start.
I know you're excited, but Joe, I'm talking to Joe beforehand. I just told him that I had, a very horrible experience medically recently, and I'm just trying to get things together. And he's coming at me on air here with this monologue thing.
I, as far as I know, this is a free-form discussion until you move it to something else. So I'm
Tom,
speaking
while you're
my
sitting
mind.
there with the gout, you could be writing your opening monologue.
That's what I thought. Here's what I thought, Max. Here's what I thought was going to happen. When he said that to me over the summer, I was like, oh, all right. We got the Detlef Diaries section on the website. What Tom is probably going to do is do like a little meditation, write a little essay, like a thematic sort of rant or something.
Gout, something personal.
A minute long, 90-second long, about photography or whatever. Open up the show.
Detlef Diaries, I remember those.
Right. And then he would plug that. That would be a perfect sort of.
Here's the thing too with that. I was thinking about this when I was writing my intro for the Salt of the Earth, which we're going to be talking about in a few minutes. I was like, is it too much? Because I feel like that in itself was a monologue. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Fucking host.
You get two if you want, man.
I can, right?
I do whatever the fuck you want.
If I was the host, I would definitely do it. But like I was saying, I would do it like make the opening like a 60-second thing, and then the review's the review or the intro's the
Gotcha.
intro.
All right, I'm on it.
Like the Tonight Show. Like, how about this Donald Trump? Can you believe this guy? Is it that kind of monologue?
No, I just a little personal bit about what we're probably going to be getting into for the evening. Just a few thoughts about the theme or.
I did it with the alien thing because we were doing summer block.
So you did it. You're the best. You're
the
greatest, Joe. Oh, by the way, Joe, congratulations on your book deal.
Yeah, let's talk about that at some point.
Awesome.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, really excited, man. But just friggin' incredible. It was just amazing, man. I found a publisher who's going to put out the book, and it'll be out in August 2016. I got to go through the editing process right now, but I couldn't be happier with my first novel that I've wrote.
So
I got it out.
This is not self-publishing. This is a legitimate.
No, that was one of the conditions that look, it's not Penguin or Harper or anything like that. It's a small, basically the contemporary version of pulp. But the two conditions I set for myself were, one, I would not self-publish because I could, with all due respect, I could, write something on toilet paper and self-publish it. You know what I mean? Like, I know that there's probably a lot of good things come out of it, but I just didn't want
department. I think.
Yeah, I don't know. I found them on what is it? What's the plug, Tom? We always Reverb Nation. I found them on Reverb Nation. I reached out to them. I really dug their music. It sounded like they would fit in with what we're doing, and they were excited. They let us use their stuff, so we didn't have to rip off anybody's copyrighted stuff. They gave us.
How long have we been using their music?
Since we abandoned the horror show.
So they're like a royalty-free band, but you pay them. Like
Evan Mac. We have we have an agreement that we exchange. We give them plugs every show, and they let us use their music for the theme. So they were really into it. I really dig their stuff, but I wonder if they have some lounge music now with Tom's new.
We'll have to dig through their catalog. Listen,
lounge music for the subdued, soft opening.
Adam, didn't you guys have a house band on Mimosa? Who was that? Well, the Four Postmen.
The Four Postmen, all good friends of ours. We used to use their music a lot, and we would feature them on the show a lot. And then they eventually wrote both an opening and closing song for us.
You had them on the show, right?
Many times,
and they all listened to every episode.
Right.
Yeah,
Joe promised the Zillitones you know, he was like, yeah, you guys can come on and plug your music and we'll talk to you. Joe never had him on.
I did ask him, but they're very non-responsive. I think that they're in Japan or something like that. So, well, Max, here we go. They're not Japanese. They're not Japanese. I think they might be Serbian. I don't know what the hell their story.
They might be
the guys
Serbian.
Wow, they're American, but they're in Japan.
We have to get these guys on
as much as I can gather. But here's the litmus test, Max. Zillitones, if you guys hear this, reach out to us and we'll have you on for.
Yeah, this we'll know. Max will know if they are listening to the show because we're talking to them right now.